As accountants, it's critical that you all stay savvy about the cyber threats that are out there. Phishing and social engineering remain really big ones. Hackers often pose as trusted contacts to make you think that they are someone else or to get you to reveal information, right? So social engineering is just manipulation. That's the way to look at it. And phishing is just the use of technology to again manipulate you and convince you to give up either credentials or other sensitive information. And those attacks can come from a myriad of places. So it can be through email. I think that's the one that we're most familiar with. Text message, the smishing, that started to emerge a couple years ago. And then there's the old school phone call. And so we're going to talk about a real example of that in a little while. So again, bad actors use credible information when they're socially engineering you as a manipulation tactic. Supply chain attacks are also on the rise. These are scenarios where your bad actors, your cyber criminals, target a less secure vendor that's in your ecosystem. So we are all highly integrated. We're all in the cloud. We've got tons of different services talking to each other. And by targeting a vulnerability in a small vendor that doesn't have the same kind of resources available, or maybe they were a startup and they haven't budgeted for it, or in some cases, it's really big players. I think about the SolarWinds attack from a couple of years ago. Bad actors essentially found an exploit, a vulnerability in a legitimate software patch. So in the patching process, they were able to insert malicious code into that patch. And when SolarWinds pushed out the update to people and people deployed it across their environments, thousands of private companies, government agencies, schools all had opened a door essentially to allow data exfiltration, sensitive information to be compromised. And that was through a legitimate update that was happening to remote monitoring and managing software. So those supply chain attacks can just be absolutely devastating. And then ransomware, of course, ransomware continues to be a top threat. If you pull up articles, you'll find that analysts see that the cyber crime is a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar annually, and that is just so hard to comprehend at our size, right? So as small, medium, even somewhat small enterprises, right? Billions of dollars seems just so unrealistic, but the reality is that the average breach, probably the average ransom is probably in the $40,000 to $60,000 range. That's what we see most frequently, but that's just the start of it, right? You've got these long-term costs that you have to think about too. Not only in how many clients are you going to lose, what's your reputational damage, how much are you going to have to pay to provide potentially identity monitoring to the people whose data was breached. So there's all kinds of long-term ongoing costs associated